So where were you earlier? That address was not your address.
No. If only it was somewhere exciting.
You and I, we go way back. We met in 2004. That's like
yesterday.
12 years ago. Oh my God.
I just remember you in my apartment on, in Chelsea.
Oh my God.
Do
Yeah,
you remember
we
coming
lived
over
in
there?
the same apartment building.
Yeah.
And you were like downstairs. Well,
Yeah.
at the time I didn't live there.
But even before that, like the first time we met at like the White Cafe.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
first
God,
time.
White Cafe.
But then you came over to my apartment and we did another little interview or whatever.
Totally.
And my apartment was maybe the size of this room, but with everything.
Yeah.
Like the sink in the corner, the bed over here.
That's right.
Yeah,
You
like-
remember because
Yeah,
I was
because Tara lived in the same building.
Yeah. So it was like and it just was such a sanctuary over there.
Yeah.
At that point, it was like everything we needed, you know?
Yeah, and everyone had little magic worlds, and
They
you opened the
really
door, and it
did.
was just like, whoo.
It was a good time in that building for a minute.
It was great.
It was our own little Chelsea hotel.
Oh my God, yeah.
I
Totally.
know. And we initially met because you were putting on the first Turning show
Right.
at St. Anne's Warehouse,
Yeah.
which, can you like talk a little bit about the concept, your initial concept behind Turning at St. Anne's Warehouse at that time in 2004?
We just had this idea of a woman's face on a woman's on a kind of a lazy Susan, just like turning and being filmed from all the different angles. And Charles Atlas, the filmmaker, was making portraits in that vein. Mm-hmm. And I had said, well, can I curate a group of women that I'm really interested in? And it was mostly people I knew, and then a couple of young people that I didn't know that I was introduced to that had been recommended to me, and you had been recommended to me by Armin Ra. Mm-hmm. And you were just, how old were you? 19 or something?
Oh my God, I don't even remember.
You were just a
I
baby.
deleted it from my...
You were just a baby.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you were working like a makeup, doing something with
and
makeup.
pastels.
Yeah.
And I remember when we met, we both brought each other like CDs.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I
we, like,
just
shared
completely
music.
fell in love with your music from the first
Oh my God.
moment I heard it.
The same here.
Yeah, your track, that last track that you did with that video, this is my favorite track of the year. That,
Chemical Love.
Chemical Love. That
Oh
is
my
like,
God.
I must have watched that video
Me too. I know.
maybe 300 times.
It's so good.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm not
amazing.
kidding. Like, I listened to it to feel better. Like, your
Oh,
spirit,
that's so sweet.
your radiance, you're like a life force.
Stop it.
Don't you think?
It's really gonna be
Go on.
But it's really true. Like,
Yeah, it's so good.
no, but it's so deep. It's so it's so deep.
No,
Like,
it is, and I think I feel like you both expose yourself in such a beautiful way that it's like you both bring out your vulnerable sides, and not everyone does that. And I think that's beautiful, especially in that video and when I've seen you live. And
I feel like Nomi's kind of like the frontier,
Oh my
like
God.
really the frontier,
Stop it.
and
yeah, I agree.
Well, you've been a big, like a mentor to me and inspiration to me. I remember seeing you. You eventually went on to win the Mercury Prize
It's major.
for I'm a Bird Now, and you took Turning on a European tour.
that was so fun.
That was amazing, and made a film about it,
which is gorgeous.
which is beautiful,
Treat
which is called
yourself out
Turning.
there. Treat yourself.
Yeah,
It's-
when we
it's
did that
beautiful.
tour though, that was something.
That
Because that was 2006,
amazing. Yeah.
and just I used that like weird moment of popularity in Europe to, there was like 15 different performers and the band and me.
Yeah, that was insane.
And it
Because
was
people, when they
really-
win awards, they can like do anything with that moment, and that was something so. That was a really big undertaking. That was not the normal thing someone would do, and they're like, okay, they would just like tour their record and like keep going with like promoting that album, but you chose to do something so like out of this world and really beautiful and phenomenal.
What else could I have done? Like, that's where I came from, and it's the in a weird way, it was like the thing I thought was most beautiful. So it was like I really wanted to show my best dream, and it really was that collaboration had meant so much to me that when we did it in Brooklyn at St. Anne's, remember when, because it was like a mixture of different kinds of women, trans women, and different female artists from New York City, and it was all women. And I just remember when at St. Anne's, this Inuit woman came up to me after the concert and was like, she was crying, and she was like, "This is what we do. This is the kind of ceremony we do.
Wow.
Like, this reminds me of my home." And it was like, then I was like, "Oh my, this is." We knew it was for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, there was something about it that
it was like a ceremony. It definitely was.
so powerful. And we really didn't care what other people thought. We were really doing it. It developed a life of its own.
Yeah.
And then when we did it as an ambassadorial project around Europe, then it became this other thing.
That was so beautiful.
And it was like before, and then Riccardo Tisci and a bunch of other designers came to see that show in Paris. And then a couple years later, he started featuring trans models.
Right.
And it was definitely a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Because at that point, we didn't have any visibility collectively.
No. I really feel like that moment was like really on the forefront of
was
like
a
the
seed.
trans
We planted
movement, even though it
seed.
wasn't like focused on like being trans, or it was
But
was
it
about
wa-
femininity and
but
like
it
but
was.
it was, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's really what.
For me, it was exploring where we met, where the trans experience of womanhood met other outsider experiences of womanhood.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Specifically, Kembra, Johanna.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? These Bianca, Eliza, Stacy, women who also had this sense of alienation in their identity.
Yeah.
And
Which I
yet
feel a
we're
lot
really,
of all women have this sense of like
absolutely.
transition.
Oh, I feel like I'm going through it. Personally, I'm going through right now. I feel like there's always like every few years there's something new that we go through, or we might feel insecure about.
Yeah,
or like
that you have to
we need
fight
bond
through
for.
and like
Oh,
fight to
fight
get to
hard.
that place
Yeah.
where you feel like I am the woman that I was
Yes.
meant to be.
Absolutely, absolutely.
but the idea that what we put forward, I think, which was interesting, was this idea about the conversation about the bridge between the bridge of femininity that connects trans women to non-transgender women
Yes.
in the underground.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That we've
Oh,
sort
totally.
of we've had that sort of pioneering thing going on already for decades,
Right.
and
Fusing the two.
sharing these bizarrely different vocabularies in some cases, and yet finding this like intense common ground. You know, these, and so I feel like in a way people are catching. They're still trying to catch up to us on that one.
Yeah, that is true.
Absolutely.
You know, because people like with that magazine, the
Candy.
like they're still in the trying to connect us to gay guys and drag queens. Do you know what I mean? The bridge is across to the gays. That's how it
Right.
started. And now
They're on one side of the spectrum.
Now he's beginning to reach. He's
The
not
other end of the
Like he's
spectrum.
beginning to grasp the dream of the feminine that really moves into womanhood.
Right.
And that is all the more powerful for that. It's not, it sort of separates. We sort of separate now from the gay children who we love. You know what I mean? And who we are
But it's
as
totally,
well.
yeah, it's its own side of the spectrum. And I think it's important to realize that. Like, I always felt like, we're kind of put under this umbrella of like LGBT, but it's like
Right.
something so separate at the same time, which needs its own sort of its own warriors, and it needs its own.
Well, and we've been
focus.
that.
Yeah,
but we're
exactly.
intersecting with them, and we have all that intersecting experience of queerness
Right.
and
we're all
of
family,
faggotry,
in a
and
way,
we get faggotry. We invented faggotry,
Exactly.
and yet
We made Beyonce.
No.
PhD, darling.
We did.
but at a certain point, there are those who ascend to trans, and
Yeah.
that's like another thing.
Right.
And then the children, the gay boys, they can't own you.
Right.
And that's what they're still trying to figure out. They don't own us anymore.
I love that. You
That's
don't own
so
us anymore.
True.
As a writer and musician, I feel that, a lot of our trans experience is expressed in our music. And it seems like sometimes I feel if it doesn't come with like a before and after story or something that like with a shock factor, it's not sort of put into that category that, seen as like a part of the movement or something. Do you ever feel that the work of trans artists and musicians is often neglected by the movement that's kind of going on now?
Well, I think in some ways, I'm not sure if this is answering exactly your question, but I feel like we've seen in the last just couple of years, like this new generation of young ones coming up who are transitioning very much younger and younger, more, and aren't having to do that before and after experience. Like there's that one girl I love that one girl. She was a teenager. She was involved in that whole bathroom fight.
Oh, yes.
She had the little green streak. She's a twin, and she has a brother.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And she's so smart and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched this interview with her where she was like, I can't stress enough how by transitioning before puberty, how I dodged a bullet. And when she said
I
that,
saw that. That was on the trans list,
Yeah.
which you
Yes.
Yeah.
were the theme music
when
for.
she said that, I totally started crying because it was
Yeah.
like,
Her was really powerful.
yeah,
It was. I really enjoyed her.
the way she said dodge a bullet, it was like, it really defined a new experience.
Yeah.
She's really defining really a frontier experience, which I think, even though you're a tiny bit older than them, I think you really belong to their experience. You know, you're really a part of that, this new generation of dreaming and thinking about trans identity, you know, which isn't about this revelation of transformation,
Right.
but really just a continuing conversation about essence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And where people don't have to go through the grueling and sometimes degrading, you know, process of being sort of scrutinized and borderline ridiculed and eyed as an object of curiosity on the
Right.
basis of that transformation.
Right.
Rather, it's like, this is actually, I was born to be and am. And I mean, I heard you talking to Jamie, you're talking about, and I was really struck by when Nomi said, you know, if you're passing, like you're given a free ticket, like you run with your ticket and go stealth. And like you said this thing in the interview that really stunned me in a way, because I mean, it kind of broke my heart, but at the same time it was like, I totally knew what you were talking about as someone on the other side of that experience. Do you know what I mean? As someone that wasn't given that ticket. And I'm not saying that in a grieving way, but I'm just acknowledging it. And I do think that the kind of artist that you are is frontier, and as such, society is still in the most rudimentary phase of embracing trans person, and it has to be a person that's desexualized. It has to be someone that's kind of, for the most part, either like a someone that's like sexless but maternal, can still be pretty but not sexually threatening, or just or a total Frankenstein. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And no, you know, and I say that with affection. I say that with affection.
Yes,
but honestly, in
Christina
the West, that's where we're at. In the
Yeah.
West, it's mostly where we're at, or some combination of the two, and furthermore, almost all white. Do you know what I mean? Except for one or two people that busted through.
Right.
Like Laverne's really like the first one.
Right.
A person of color that's busted through. I mean, it's like I remember when I was like doing the interview like in 2006 or something. I was in Australia and they're asking me about being trans, and I was like, "Well, it's great, but I really feel like I'm a mark of the time, and in the next phase, it will be a person of color who's trans who's going to be talking to you today, or it's going to be an indigenous person of trans experience. It's not going to have to be a white queen telling you the experience of being trans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that
Totally.
is, and it gives me chills to say it, but it's like, it's slowly coming to pass, so slowly, but it's so frustrating at the same time, because I do feel like some of our greatest artists and assets are being undervalued in our society. And
It's a whole other.
I count you among that list of people. I mean, I think you're one of the greatest trans artists in this country. You're the best trans singer maybe in the world. And yet, you know, and you sing from a woman's point of view. It's not like, but it's not this kind of like thing where, it's not this thing where like people can, you know, people like, can grasp the concept that I'm transgender, but they still hear an androgynous voice. When you sing, it's a woman's voice. It's really like a different sphere. It's a different frequency because it's a woman's voice.
Right.
It's just different. It's just different. There's not been a trans singer that's been doing that yet.
No.
But the next generation, they're going to start to do that more because they're all transitioning earlier. They're not having to have secondary sex characteristics. They're not developing all the garish burden of secondary sexual characteristics of maleness. Is that too intense to say that?
No, not at all.
No, I mean,
it's true, though. It's absolutely
weird.
true. And you, like you say, pass. You get a pass for certain, for being feminine, and some people go through that later in life, and these kids are coming in at an earlier time, and they're going to deal with the ridicule, but it's but hopefully by the time that happens, everybody is just a girl or just a boy walking by. It's not going to be a thing, It's just going to be we're all just trying to get to the train,
It may always be a thing.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like it's not just pass; it's also power.
Yes,
It's like a level of feminine power that you're embodying that really does scare the shit out of some of those guys that aren't comfortable. I really think that must be what's going on.
That's definitely happening.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And it's not about passing; it's about power.
Right.
Yeah. I think in sexuality has a lot to do with that too. It's like it's not okay to also. It's okay. It's at the same time. It's not okay to be a trans artist and be sexual or allow yourself to be sexualized, because it's still not. They don't want to give you that power. They don't want to let you have access to that power, and that's a part of what I do, because I feel very I am empowered by my body and by my sexuality. It's a part of my message too, and it's just like it's a lot. I know I'm a lot to handle.
No, but do you think it's out of fear or not knowing, or the fear of the unknown, or fear of of people seeing who they are and their sexuality, and
It breaks it all down. Once it's so simple, it breaks them all down. It breaks all down their whole system of the binary. It breaks down everything that their little tiny myopic lives are built on. All the cornerstones of their little, blinkered lives.
Yeah, they don't want to know that that they could. I feel like
they don't want to know that they could fall in love with you, and that they want to fall in love with you, and that's why they're freaking. Because one thing to look at, a blockhead with lipstick and say, okay, I'll accept that as long as it doesn't come near me. It's another thing to be like, oh my God, I intensely desire that person. What does that say about me? I just was raised in a culture that for the last 100 years has been telling me if I'm a faggot, I'm a pariah. You know what I mean? And yet, it's just going to dismantle and it's going to totally deconstruct the fabric of their heterosexual nuclear lives.
Oh my God. Yes.
So true.
No, it's about them, because Nomi, it's about them falling in love with you. That's what's going on here.
Absolutely. And
that's what's going on.
Sort it out in their own.
They can't sort it out, and the women are scared of it, and the men are and it's like, and it's not like you're like falling in love with you because you're passing. You're out. Like, they know what you are. You're not hiding that, and they're falling in love with you.
That's what freaks them out more.
That's what's fucking with them.
You should stay home.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay home.
Are you kidding? Stay
I'm gonna go on the top of the empire.
No, she's gonna lead. She's already leading the revolution. She's already leading the revolution. There are many children. There are many children following in your footsteps.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not alone anymore with this. You have a whole army of kids that are under you now that are living for your system.
All right, well, back to you.
Is that terrible to say?
No.
You agree?
I 1,000% agree.
Thank you for rooting for
We're
me.
all going to Knickerbocker trying to get that damn dress.
Are you kidding?
We're all rainbow. Trying to get that goddamn lip. There's just 3 shades of red.
No.
We can't even do
I
that.
invented Kylie.
No, I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
I 100% agree.
It's the future.
Well, all right. Well, this year...
and it's a healing balm for this world. Like, it's totally full of soul and healing. It's the revolutionary potential of the trans soul. Like, I mean, we offer something really great.
Yeah.
But it takes, really, I've always said, like, a society's ability to embrace its trans kids is the ultimate litmus test of the spiritual health of that society.
Yeah.
Because if a society can truly embrace the children, not just the grown-ups, the 70-year-olds after they've had 6 children.
Right.
But I mean, if they can embrace their trans children,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Well, you
nurture
said I wanted to
those-
say, read this quote that I found of yours. It says, "The trans condition is a beautiful mystery. It's one of nature's best ideas. What an incredible impulse that compels a 5-year-old child to tell its parents it isn't what they think it is."
No, tell me about it. That's
love
like
that.
It's like nature. It's like I feel like we're like connected to the most feral impulses of nature because who is compelling that child to speak that way?
Right.
She didn't learn it from anywhere.
No.
She can you imagine the force of a spirit?
That's beautiful. And
That-
to have that come in you at such a young age.
In the
that's
face of
gorgeous.
face of such opposition.
Hello, she didn't find that in Sesame Street.
What child
know?
would do that unless they were utterly possessed by the spirit?
Yeah. It's the.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
I love
They
that.
are possessed by the spirit.
That's
I remember I
beautiful.
told my mom, she caught me like dancing with curtains when I was like just talking.
That's it. That's the thing.
And she was like, "Don't do that. That's for girls." And I said, "I know, Mom, but in my belly, I feel like I'm a girl."
That's the spirit.
And like, where did I learn that? I didn't get that from anywhere else.
No.
But that's
The
universal.
soul, yeah.
We could go to India and talk to the
Yeah.
Hijra, and they would tell you the same story.
Exactly. It's
gorgeous.
You could go to to Peru, and we could talk to girls that had the same exact story.
Yeah.
It's like in our DNA.
Yeah.
It's such a sacred.
And it connects us, I feel also.
Yeah. And for me,
Absolutely.
it's like a secret. It's like a kind of a network that really connects everyone. So it's like, not to say that there aren't other factors of culture and race and economics that radically affect the different experiences and lives of trans
Right.
people, but there are these through lines,
Yes.
like that story you just told.
Yeah, it is a through line. And I also feel that people who are not trans also need to sort of find their way to that part of them. Because I feel like we all
Absolutely.
possess that. We just have it it's more like it evolved and enlightened kind of, I don't know, it's just a little more.
Right. It's
Yes.
just, it insists upon being recognized.
Right.
For a trans kid, they're forced to reckon with this.
Yeah, they have to deal with it.
this
or they're
inner
gonna
light,
die, yeah.
this inner cry.
Or they'll explode.
Yeah, they don't
But I
have a
think we
choice.
all get there at some point, and we have to figure out how we can all connect to each other.
Right.
In that the same way all like
Yeah.
trans spirits can connect, no matter what language you speak, no matter what.
Right.
Well, see, for me, in my mythology, that's exactly what we have to offer is
Yeah.
a modeling of that experience.
Yeah, I agree.
1,000% agree. Wow.
Well, this last year we saw sort of a rebirth of you, where
Not
you took on your
really.
spirit name
My spirit name.
and set off as a warrior,
I just got tired of it.
defending the earth.
No, but I've always been doing that.
And speaking on politics in a way that
Work, yeah.
I've never heard in music. And I mean,
I live.
definitely have, but
Yeah.
it was kind of, it was a little intense. It was a little pointed.
You had something to say.
It was a little pointed.
What
It
do
was
you
great.
mean? It was pointed. What do you mean?
No, I mean, you were speaking with a sharp tongue and saying things that you thought needed to be heard, which I thought was super brave. I mean, all those things together seemed like a lot in 1 year and in one album cycle for you to go through. And I just wondered if, you were ever like frightened by those choices and what that was like for you going through.
I was frightened.
Really?
Yeah, but I did it on the basis of like my past experience told me that sometimes you have to move through like something that makes me feel shamed or frightened. Maybe it's something important for me to address.
I think I thought it was refreshing, to be honest, because I feel like music right now, no one's saying anything, and you were saying something, and I was relating to it. I was like, I just found it refreshing, and for me, I was like, oh wow, okay, I don't need to talk about spandex and big booties right now. Like this is something like people are scared out there. Everyone has an opinion about everything, and when you came out with with your album, I was like, oh yes, you're saying something. Someone's saying something. Like
Someone's saying it.
someone's saying it. And I was like, and I went to your show. I was a hot mess because I was like,
We always come with waterproof mascara. One.
But
Maybe
it
a
hit
flat.
It hit me
Maybe
hard.
a flat.
Yeah, flat girl.
Because we were like, gonna be there.
I brought a
Getting
tote,
in.
and an extra scarf because I wasn't sure how I was gonna look after.
Oh my God.
It's like going to church.
It was because you
in
could
a wind
hear,
tunnel.
You could literally hear a pin drop, though. You could hear a pin drop, but it was just, and I thank you for doing that, for being honest and writing and everything you do. I enjoy your writing and your lyrics tremendously, but it was really nice for someone to say something. It was really refreshing, and thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so sweet of you to say. It means a lot to me.
How'd you overcome your fears?
I actually can't get rid of it. I just act despite it. You know, I'm actually a very anxious person. So it's not like the anxiety went down. It's just, I just kept taking action anyway. So I don't know if that was the right thing to do. I still don't know. But
I always think fear is sort of a signal of the way you should face. I don't know, or it's like it shows you where you should be going. Like face
or
your fear,
what to
go towards
really
it.
avoid. You know, I mean, we have a
Right,
fear.
it depends.
Well,
intuition I think can be different than fear.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like I didn't know. I really didn't know. It was totally an experiment. But I think getting older, you know what I mean? I just thought, like, it seems things in the way I see the world, things seem like they're at such a point of critical mass that I just wanted to, and I've been afforded this privilege of having some platform, just the limited platform to talk about stuff. At least I have some access to media. Right. You know, what's interesting, I've been thinking about this recently, is like, you can have a relatively small status as a musician, but you can still have access to media that's bigger than like, you know, a millionaire, a multi-millionaire wouldn't have the same public interest in them as I might have. So I can still, if it plays out right, I can do these little interventions in the media where I can say something contrary to what people are thinking, and it might get published and thousands of people might read it. And that was really my bottom line for this whole project, was just to try to participate and using my sphere of influence.
Amazing. And you had, you launched your tour at the Park Avenue Armory, which is what we were just talking about. We were there. Yes, and I remember you were telling me you wanted to perform like with a model lip syncing for you, and you were behind the curtain and you had this whole concept. And I was like, no way, I go to see you. I want to see you on stage. And you're like, I don't know, I'm going to do something. I need to like kind of escape myself and just be sort of, I don't know, you mentioned avatars and using your voice to kind of like speak through other beings. And you totally like pulled it off in a way where I still felt we got to see you perform. Yeah. But you also beautiful. Like allowed your voice to be its own being in a way. Yeah. And so how did you like come up with that concept? Tell us more about the show, how it came together.
Well, I basically performed under a veil, like a black veil, sometimes a white veil. And that was a sort of a compromise, because originally I didn't want to be on stage, and I really didn't want to be on stage because I was just feeling too insecure about the way I looked. So, I mean, that was the root of the impulse. But oftentimes when you're struggling with, that's an interesting place to make artwork from. Like if you have something that's, you know, a conflict, you find interesting solutions. Right. So
there's also something different when you see a performer singing and just hearing their voice, but it moves through the body in a way where it's also, you know, as a spectator, you feel that too with your eyes. It's such a different thing. You know?
I never expected that I would be so liberated from under a veil. That after I did that project, I mean, it was a few shows in, I realized why women wear burqas. Because it liberates you from a misogynist gaze. You are no longer subject to that first line of critique and ridicule that comes from the misogynist gaze. Like, they couldn't tell me they couldn't criticize the way I looked because they couldn't see my face. And it was like, that's heavy. It was intense. It was like, on one hand, you don't want to have to be in a situation where you're being in a society that criticizes. Right. But on the other hand, I had this like really intense like view of empathy into why women feel better under there. because I felt better under there. I felt in many ways freer on stage than I have
You
my
were-
whole life.
I was saying we were both.
We felt that.
Yeah, we felt that. We felt that energy. I'd never seen you in that light, and you were dancing. I was like, oh, this is joyous. This was a joyous occasion.
Yeah, you never moved that way.
And
no,
expressing
I
And
loved
it was
it.
so
loved it.
beautiful.
and expressing anger
Yes.
in a way that I probably couldn't have if my face was uncovered.
So you really got to express yourself even more so. Whew, that's gorge.
But originally I was going to have someone lip sync the whole show because I was like really inspired by Black Box. Do you remember that band Black Box?
Right, yeah.
And I was obsessed with those music
yeah.
videos where Martha Wash was the singer,
Yes.
and then they hired
this little skinny girl.
Yeah, they hired this girl, this French woman, to lip sync all the music. I think she's actually from Barbados or something, but she was, and it was like a hidden secret. But it was, eventually it was revealed that
Right.
it was. People found out that she wasn't a real singer and that it was Martha Wash, and Martha sued because she'd actually was deprived of a lot of that songwriting credit.
Oh, really?
And she won that case, but it was sort of like a JT Leroy moment in the early 90s in the music scene where it was like, it's not what it appears to be, but it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And like it offered
God,
this
that
opportunity.
was one was-
And there was this embedded in it was this whole conversation about what kind of bodies, what kind of people do we want to look at? How do we want to receive our pop messages? What are we, how transparent could that was the original impulse. Like I was like, well, I don't have to keep going through this. This is an artwork. There's this like presumption that it has to be this authentically my body, but why should it be? This is an artwork. I can create my performance as an artwork too, and therefore it can be shape-shifting, just like in a movie or and suddenly it was like, well, and then of course with the experience of Turning was a huge precedent for me. Like when I did Turning, it was like I felt all of you pouring through me, and that was what set me free in a way. It was like
It really exhibits the spirit.
Yeah.
And you rarely see that when you go to a live show.
That's so true.
So for this concert, we did like all these portraits
That was
of all these
beautiful.
different women, and women who some really well-known artists, some friends, some people that I cast, and we really was an experiment.
A successful experiment.
It was, some people
Very
thought that, it got criticized in lots of different ways. It was, it was criticized for some people felt there were too many women of color in the casting. And other women, even participants, felt that was appropriate given that women of color are disproportionately affected by the issues that we were addressing in the music.
Right.
So there was both sides, and it was provocative, and it wasn't all comfortable. Like it wasn't like some of the show made people really uncomfortable. So it wasn't like a feel-good moment. It wasn't like a Beyonce expression of solidarity. It wasn't uplift. It was
like polarizing in a way.
It was like, oh my God, how do these pieces fit together? They made me uncomfortable. I presented a lot of work that I felt conflicted about, but I knew that there was some energy, some alchemy to the discord that I felt in the work I thought was valuable. So that's why I just kept pushing it. It was a nightmare.
Oh my gosh. Well, you came out alive on the other end.
It was a full-on nightmare. Oh my God.
On this record, I'm used to hearing you work with musicians and composing in that way. In this record, you worked with Oneohtrix, Point Never, and Hudson Mohawke. What was it like writing in that way? It's a whole different style of writing for you.
I mean, I felt like, maybe I was influenced by you, honestly, Nomi, because like,
Oh my God.
well, because, I've never been sent a track and then I could have
You're like, send me some beats. That's how I play with boys. I'm just like, can you just send me some beats?
Oh my God, that's how you
I blow for beats.
all this time.
Now you can get one of our. I'm gonna make a shirt that says "I blow for beats."
Yeah.
So now you can get one. You're officially a part.
I
of
know
the,
you mean blow on your hot chocolate.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes,
It's simmering hot.
So, but
How is it blowing for beats?
honestly, it was so liberating and wonderful because I have a very limited songwriting ability. To be honest, I only know about 5. I know.
Oh my
no,
God,
no, no.
that's
I know
hilarious.
like
Get outta
6
here.
chords. No, and as I get
right
older,
now.
as my
Oh my God.
Alzheimer's,
Stop it.
as
Are
my
you kidding me?
Alzheimer's sets in. No, but seriously, like I write songs a certain way.
Right.
You know, it's a very, it's very typical.
I know what you mean.
And you get these tracks that just written from a totally different point of view, and all you have to do is, run a melody over it. It's like totally inspiring.
I mean, melodies you wouldn't have thought of. It
Never in a
pushes
million
you-
years
yeah.
would I thought of it.
Right.
And plus, like with Hudson, for instance, he just makes such jubilant beats, like so much
Did you
great
just bite
energy.
your lip?
No, but
Gosh,
he makes such exuberant beats,
Yeah.
and it was just so much fun to just be like just like dive in. But
Do you have like tons of how many songs did you actually write, and how many were on the album?
no, honestly, Hudson sent me his table scraps, and I used every last one of them.
So everyone was like, "Boom, the album."
I was
done.
serious.
Oh my
Those are
God.
table
She's
scraps.
like, I'll just take all
All
of
those
them.
tracks have been all those tracks have been like 80% of them have been rejected by all the pop stars already.
Oh my God.
Because he sends them all out to all these pop stars, and then they were like, they put it in their deep freeze, and he just sent me them, and I said, well, I'll just take every single one of those. Thank you very much.
Thank you, done.
I'm like
done.
I'm like a
Thanks.
Beats bottom feeder.
Oh
I just like,
my God! Stop. Oh my God.
no, but I was like, no, but I was seriously like, the tracks were so exciting to me.
They're beautiful.
And they all got their just dessert because people loved them.
Exactly. We also heard that you were working with on some beats of Skrillex.
I did. That was a couple years ago, like 4 years ago. Skrillex asked me to do a track, and I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, I'd love to.
Yeah.
No, I was into it, and that was
Yeah.
before.
Is it to
That was
blow you?
after was after Hercules. Because we did Hercules together.
Right. That's the whole other world.
So I was like, yeah, I'm into it. So he sent me a track, and then I wrote these lyrics on it. A song called Boys Club. It was like, it's basically like, it's a boys club, it's a boys club.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like just like a kind of a social critique about misogyny, but it was like kind of early Skrillex-y type EDM track, and he got back to me and he was like, can we just change that one line to say something like, and it was something like Boys World, or like he wanted to make it more into like a vampire song and not a political song, and I was just like, yeah, okay. It just didn't happen after that. I was like, no.
You're like, no.
People didn't, people don't want that heat on their shit. They don't want to.
They don't want to say too much.
It's just if it feels contentious, people are scared of it.
Right.
That was the point of this record, was just like blow it out of the water and just challenge everyone about what content couldn't be. Not that it made
thank
any
God.
difference. It's like,
Right.
Donald Trump still got elected, so it was like such a failure in every way.
On that note, let me take a sip of this.
Right. I need to pass that
Yeah.
bottle. Also, this year you had a crazy year. How would you describe your 2016? A lot of people are saying this is like their like most intense year ever.
Yeah, it was.
So are you
intense.
part of that like
I don't know.
2016?
I
I'm
was-
ready to see you go bye-bye club.
I don't know. I
You
I
don't
don't
have
know how I feel about it. It was I really cared about the work I did, and I really loved a lot of the people I collaborated with this year. So
Yeah. I feel like you really made a gorgeous statement
I
this year.
just
You
tried
also,
my best.
She was nominated for an Oscar. Let's just put
Yeah,
that
that
also
work
onto
didn't
your
work out very
belt.
well.
And she refused to attend after being cut from the list of performers.
No, I just want to correct that. I didn't not attend because I was cut from the list.
Okay, clarify.
Everyone says that, but that wasn't why I didn't go. I didn't go because because I found out that I wasn't performing like a month into the nomination cycle after everyone had been asking me if I was performing. And I basically found out in the newspapers that I had been cut due to time constraints. And it was just very degrading.
Right.
It was like I'd been in high anxiety. Like everyone had been assuming that I would perform. So if they'd called me from the outset and said,
Right.
please come, you're not very popular in the United States, so we're not going to have you perform, but at the same time, we want to honor you. And please come, you're not going to be performing, but you're nominated. Isn't that great? I would have said, yes, I'll be there.
Right.
But instead, they like basically tortured me and then kind of embarrassed me in the media. And it was like suddenly all of the announcements I'd been nominated were being eclipsed by these announcements that I'd been cut. So it wasn't even that I had, so the suggestion was I had once been performing, but now I'd been removed from the performance.
Right, because normally I assume like all the nominees perform.
Yeah.
That's just,
But do you see the difference though? It's like to be cut from something is really different than never to have been asked.
Right.
You know, and if they had made clear from the outset that I wasn't going to be performing, then I could have attended with some dignity.
Right.
But instead they were asking me to attend as like the C list under like Gaga and Sam Smith. Who, you know, are great, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
But it's degrading. I'm like an elder. Do you know what I mean? Just treat me with some respect. I've been around the block. I don't need anything from them. I don't need their money.
Right.
I don't need anything from them. Just treat me with dignity.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We're proud of you for standing up for yourself.
Yeah, I thought that was
Because
really
that's tough. A lot of girls would have just been like, I was the one telling you, I was like, put on that Givenchy dress and
Harry
go show
Winston.
up. And just show face, girl. And you're like, no. I was like, okay, you know what?
I just don't want to go through it.
Another
It's like,
moment where I was
especially
totally
because
inspired.
like the election was coming up. It was like everyone was like milking the trans toilets issue, like as if that was gonna, be this clincher for the election. It was just like this horrible like liberal chow down on identity politics at a time when like the world was about to end.
Yeah.
And no one was talking about the what I perceived to be, what I felt to be the baseline, you know? And so I was feeling like I didn't want to get on the bandwagon of like, oh, you guys are want to talk about trans issues this week on the election year. It's like they always want to talk about it on an election year. They want to talk about faggotry on an election year. They want to talk about abortion on an election year. They want to talk about transgender toilets.
Always.
Because that's what you
always a hot
that's
topic.
how you get working class people to vote for or against
To split them
a corporation.
up. Yeah, you split up the working class.
You know, like
that's exactly what's
exactly
going
how
on.
that happens. It's awful.
it's and that's
And now
it's-
race became the
and they
thing. That
don't
was
those
crazy.
people don't care about trans issues. They don't care about women's issues. They don't care about abortion. That's all shit is just a smokescreen to keep us busy with other shit so that they can run to the bank and like virulently consume the rest of biodiversity by the end of the century. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like they don't give a shit about all these social issues. They're just using them to keep us in check.
Exactly.
At the bottom line. So it's like, I feel like the approach now is like austerity. It's like, you want to rile me? You think you're going to rile me by taking away my toilet rights? You think you're going to rile me by putting me in wherever you're going to put me?
Right.
You're not getting anything from me. The one thing you're not going to get from me is a reaction.
No.
I'm not going to humor you with my anger because you're a mentally ill sadist.
Oh my God.
And giving you my anger is just giving you more fodder to chew on, to delight on, to
Exactly.
masticate on.
No.
It's like participating in what they want.
Yeah,
They're sadists. They want to get a rise.
Yeah.
It's true. You released an essay when that all went down, which is, I thought, really powerful. And a paragraph that I really loved was, I was told during my 20s and 30s there was no chance that someone like me could have a career in music. And this perspective was reiterated by so many industry professionals and media outlets that I lost count. I almost gave up. Thankfully, fellow artists like Lou Reed advocated for me so intensely that I got a foothold despite the worst intentions of others. In that sense, I am one of the luckiest people in the world. I thought that was really beautiful because I think there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're not supposed to be doing. I felt that way, and it wasn't actually until I met you and I was getting involved in watching you perform and put together like Turning and all that stuff. It really moved me in a way, and I think I even said it in the film when you were interviewing me. I said, I finally feel like it's okay. You know, I feel like you were really one of the first artists that I saw that made me feel like it's okay. I can do this. I can be myself and say whatever I want and sing the way that I want and look the way that I want. And it's okay, and it would work as long as the spirit behind the art is really genuine.
And you're a triumph.
Oh my God.
You're
You guys are
100,000%
making
a
me
true.
I know.
Don't you think she's such a triumph?
Oh my God,
Yes.
stop it.
That's why we've been friends for a while.
I think it's
But you're the powerhouse. You're like,
I know she really
I'm sure that you're like, you're like the model of female that she's copying.
definitely. Cheers.
Hello.
The whole since I've known you, I've seen so many celebrities all around you, from Bowie to Bette Midler to Björk to Almodovar. Have you ever been starstruck by anyone that you've crossed paths with?
Of course.
Like,
all
who
of
have you
them.
been starstruck by the most?
I mean, really? I mean,
You have to pick one. If you had to pick one star you were struck by,
Can I guess? Would it be Bowie? Do we structure like I would have like Bowie and Bette Midler. I'm a huge Bette Midler fan.
I was most starstruck by Björk.
Really?
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, because she is just, she's like she's really a kind of has a kind of a mysterious magic to her that's just astonishing. And it just took me a long time to feel like I could be friends with her because I was just amazed by her. And then
It's pretty
one of
magical,
the
isn't
first
she?
things that I did was sing in the studio with her and just to stand next to her while she was singing and to see what.
Oh wait, didn't you work together in Jamaica or something?
Yeah, she brought me.
Oh my gosh, what was that like? That must have been frightening.
Well, I mean, it's like the best and the worst of times
Yeah.
because it's like I didn't really get it. I was like, Björk, don't they kill gay people in Jamaica? And she's like, oh no, it's going to be all right. You know, whatever it was. No, I think she didn't really know anything about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I'm sure that they kill people like me in Jamaica.
Well, I picture her like in her bubble. She goes there.
Yeah, and it was
like, in a
full on
helicopter.
that, and
Yeah.
I'd never experienced that before. Like,
Wow.
you know, like a quarantined kind of experience of it. It was just really, but as I stayed there, I started to understand more and more what was going on for gay and trans people there, and it's hellacious.
Right. Yeah.
And I started to get more and more worked up.
Really?
And actually, at a certain point, I went to this this sort of a market, and there suddenly I saw this trans woman in the corner, an older woman. She had her nails painted with a red marker, and she was disheveled. And I was so shocked to see her because it's not safe
Right.
on the streets there for
It's like beyond
any
punk.
kind of queen.
Not even.
It's not safe. You get macheted.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just will chop you.
Yeah.
And I went up to her. I was so excited to see her, and I kind of ran up to her in my kind of naivete, and like this wall of older women suddenly like clenched around her, almost like a huddle to protect her from me.
Like her peeps.
Like she had like a wall of women that would literally close if
Wow.
anyone came near her to sort of
Amazing.
defend her, like she was sort of some kind of grandmother or something in the
Right.
group. And I couldn't really speak to her, but I just bought this necklace from her. And it was humbling to see a person
Like in those conditions.
in those
just
conditions,
still
a
being
person,
like, I'm
and
here.
yet, like, you know, obviously, you know, it's not easy, you know, and so when I got to and then, you know, the taxi driver would be like, so how would you, so I started interviewing locals whenever I would get a chance to talk to them. And I'd be like, well, so what would you do if you found out there was a gay or trans person in your family? They'd be like, we would kill them, we would shoot them. You know, I said, well, what chance is there that you would shoot them? He says, like 99% of this country would shoot them. You know, I was like, really? And I was like, okay. And I bought all these
You're like,
trinkets
so I'm getting
and
off
things.
here.
I bought all these trinkets from the markets and stuff. And when I got to the airport, I went to the travel desk, the tourist agency, and I said, you know what? I'm a transgender, and there's a 99% chance that the person that made these trinkets wants to kill me. So I'm just going to give them all right back to you right now.
Whoa.
And I just left all the tourist objects that I bought at the tourist desk because they were all made by people that hated my guts. And
Wow.
Word.
and it was sort of that thing. It's almost like that feeling you get sometimes, like also in America you get it. I don't know if you ever get it, but sometimes you go upstate and you just feel that the land
yeah.
is soaked in blood. Like,
Oh my God, as soon as I leave New York, Jersey's kind of like mid-tone. And then like as soon as we go past Jersey, it's like, I've been on tour buses where they tell me, I've said this before, where they just say, don't get off the bus.
yeah.
Like, this is not your town.
But like, for instance, like when I went to Tasmania, like, you know, they like wiped out all their indigenous people in Tasmania. They had this thing called the White Wall, and all of the white people just marched across the island and just systematically killed every Aboriginal person on the island.
Oh,
and there's sometimes where I get this feeling when I step on a land, and maybe it's just my imagination, but I just feel like the land is soaked in blood.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's very heavy.
Well, that's America.
Well, that's how I
the
feel.
same,
Like, if I go upstate, like, it's like, oh my God, whose land is this? This is not. Do you know what I mean? This land is soaked in blood.
Oh my God, you're really sensitive to that too.
Is that too much? But it's
No,
really
it's
true.
It's true.
You know, and so, that's the energy. Like, we feel it. You can sense it. It's just an intensity.
Yeah, and we forget sometimes because we're in New York and we're definitely in a bubble within a bubble.
And the electricity is so hardcore here that it just
we can't
drones out
even-
everything else.
God.
We don't even know that there's soil underneath, or that we're on an island. I forget all that. I'm
I
like,
always think about the
Yeah.
original inhabitants of Manhattan Island. I always think about them. I always imagine them walking, and they were sort of they were kind of pressured into like selling the island for like 6 buttons to like the Dutch or whatever.
Jesus.
But I always think about them because I had this. I used to work in this job doing maps for children's textbooks, and we used to have to sort of research like the old landforms of Manhattan, for instance. And I saw all the old waterways and the places where all the canals were before they put in all the landfills, and you saw it as an agricultural. After it was just a wild island, it became at a certain point like a tiny little city and a giant farming community with lots of streams and lakes and creeks and blah, blah, blah. And all of that stuff is still in memory underneath the city. Like,
Yeah, that's New York, like layers and layers and layers of culture.
it makes me like crazy.
Do you consider yourself a witch?
I mean, I've always said I am a witch because I'm not a Christian. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not Christian. Like, I'm very strongly not a Christian.
Right.
And I was raised in Christian traditions.
Okay.
So when I was about 13, I realized I'm more connected to Earth. So Earth became so for me, what witch just means is connected to Earth. Like, my creator is the Earth.
Yeah.
She made me. She's breathing me.
Yeah.
I'm just like a little bit of I'm like a kind of a veil over her thing.
Over her thing.
Do you know what I mean?
Speaking
Like,
of her thing, you
I'm
have
like a weird lavender veil. And the energy coming out of me is like the blowing of her
Ooh,
wind.
is that like
I
a
want
a vart?
Hopefully not a fart.
No, a varch. A varch with a V, sorry. You have an art collective called Future Feminism.
I don't really have it. I participated in a
You
group.
participate in a group
Okay.
of artists called Future Feminism
Yeah, there were like 5 of us. It was
with
Kembla.
Johanna Constantine,
Yeah.
Kembla Pfahler, Bianca Cassidy, and Sierra Cassidy, also known as Coco Rosie. You launched with an exhibition in New York a few years ago. What is the future of future feminism?
It was a kind of a precursor to this album in a way for me, my part in it, just like a provocation. Even though things seem so desperate, what can we imagine? Like, let's imagine an alternative scenario. Like and we basically, the 5 of us sat in a circle for like weeks at a time, just sort of comparing ideas about how we saw the world.
Right.
From our perspective, from our limited perspective. But basically, the ideas were like, if we as just naive artists, underground artists, or not even underground, but just sort of with a limited education, just intuitive artists, what prescriptions would we reach for, would we imagine, to help the world to shift course?
Right.
So it was an experiment in that, and it was an opportunity for us to like consciousness raise as a group.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
Well, in our last episode, we talked about sex magic.
I know, I heard it.
And we discussed using your orgasm to cast spells and manifest.
Yeah.
Do you think that sex can be used to heal the earth through magic and manifestation?
I never thought about it in terms of healing the earth. I mean,
because I feel like it's definitely, there's an energy there you can
Right.
use to like manifest things for yourself. I also think you can manifest you can give back with that energy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that sex energy is, in my imagination, is a volatile energy. So it's kind of easily directed in any direction. You know, it can be used for good or ill. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not to say that I'm not one to particularly believe in spells, but at the same time, I do believe a lot in the power of intention. And
Absolutely.
and but I think that the Earth was built on sex energy, like creative energy is sex energy. It's procreation. You know, it's the seed of life. It's everything that's good, as well as the source of our struggles. You know, living in creation. So I do think you could definitely pray your sex energy into the wellness, like into like a intention of wellness for the Earth.
Yes. You carved your mantras into rose quartz, which is said to have healing powers. And some practitioners of sex magic use crystal dildos while masturbating.
You talked about crystal dildos last
And
week.
homegirls text me crystal dildos today.
They're gorgeous.
And then it was like,
Can we bring up that photo?
It looks like we went to like some.
I know what they look like. I know what they look like.
I have my own.
So if you were going to practice sex magic, what type of crystal would your dildo be made of?
It would
It's
be
like I
made.
have it in my purse.
Yeah, it would be made of. Oh, it just shifted. I was gonna say rose quartz, but that is so boring. I think it will be made of gold.
Oh,
Yes.
Solid gold.
Rich.
gold. Is that a crystal?
No, it's not, but
That
it's a
doesn't
mineral.
count.
Fuck it.
I think I would make it out of gold.
She said gold. It's gonna be
Okay.
gold. goddammit.
She's like, I don't give a shit. So you'd have a
Not
gold and a
gold-plated.
rose quartz one.
Yeah.
No, I don't even want a rose quartz one. I
you
think
don't
I
even
would go
want
for
that.
something because rose quartz is too mushy for this. It needs to be something with a little bit more zing.
Gold is definitely
Or like
pretty gangster.
copper
mad
and
gangster.
I think gold, diamond, or diamond.
Gold with a diamond tip.
Ooh.
Oh my God, it's got a little.
I smell a new collection of dildos coming next spring.
Gold.
Allegedly
just
has a new
solid
line.
gold.
Okay, solid gold, honey.
I
Solid
like
gold.
that.
What would your crystal be, Avon?
Uh,
Oh shit. And I don't mean
onyx.
a drag queen. Onyx is good.
Yeah, onyx.
All right. Well, you taught me about Alexyss K. Tylor.
I know. I
And
heard you guys a
Vagina Power.
little bit. Like I heard a touch of Alexyss in a couple of the shows.
Yeah.
She's
gonna make you slap somebody.
she's our mascot here a little bit.
Yes.
So Alexyss is an Atlanta-based sex guru who had a public access show called Vagina Power, where she gave tough love sex advice and spoke on spiritual sexuality.
Yeah.
She's known for her scandalous banter.
But she's a brilliant
She's
woman.
amazing. She explained
serious
how
business.
women
Like-
get hooked on good dick and screwed
Yeah.
into slavery by disrespectful men who
Yeah.
wouldn't even buy them a shrimp plate at Long John Silver.
No, she's right.
When did you discover Vagina Power, and what did you find inspiring about Alexyss?
we had her speak for FF. Like one night we had her.
Oh my God, right? Yes.
Yeah, we
I
had
was gonna
her.
ask you about-
We did it
Tell
like
me
on Skype.
everything.
Well, it was a really bad connection, but we basically just worshipped her through Skype on a
okay.
public channel, whatever. But I can't remember who introduced me to that. I saw it a few years ago, and I mean, at first you laugh when you see it because it's just so outrageous and funny.
So
but
outrageous and amazing.
But then it became, I mean, it's typical for me. I got really serious about it. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like
Me too.
I think she's incredibly wise
Right.
and serious. And her shit is just so accurate. And she speaks so vividly and so without fear, and uses just the most brilliant creative language to describe
Absolutely.
cock addiction and cock slavery and like power dynamics between men and women and not just men and women. Like, you know, I mean, obviously it spoke to me, and I just really admired her courage. You know, I mean, she's really like a shaman.
Yeah.
Ooh, work. Yeah.
You know, she's
really
like
is. It's
a
so
really
true.
an
Really
urban
is.
shaman, hands down, par excellence.
She really kind of speaks to us because in the beginning, of course, we're all like, "Oh my gosh, she's outrageous," and then you take a minute, you listen to her, like, eh.
She's
You're like, that
brilliant.
shit was all true.
That was real.
No,
Yeah.
she's brilliant. I'm getting chills even thinking about
Yeah.
it.
It's true, because
It's
she does
kinda
that
amazing.
intentionally to like actually get her
Draw
message
you.
to
Yeah.
people who
Yeah.
who won't normally listen to like things like spiritual sexuality.
No,
and,
not
like,
at all.
You know, all those kind of like energies
And pussy power.
Yeah.
To me, she's the best there's ever been on this topic. You know
I
what I mean?
agree.
And you know, she does do like college lectures and stuff.
Does she really?
And some of the recordings of those are just like
Gosh, I
hands
wish she'd
down.
just come over like on a Saturday.
She has to come over. Someday we're gonna have
Very
her.
serious though. Sometimes her lectures are without any, you know, without any titters. You know, that
Yeah.
some of them are just very direct. And
I love that.
she, you know, I mean, I think in some ways she, you know, some of that early stuff that she did was just to sort of get people's attention as
Yeah.
well. But also it's just her creative brilliance. She's
It
a
is.
poet.
It's true. She is a poet, and she's like channeling while she's doing it. I feel
It's
like
amazing.
You ever see those channelers? It's like
Right.
she's one of those.
You know, fully. She's
Absolutely.
to me. I think I take her. I am deadly serious about her. I think she's a really serious voice in the community.
I believe.
I just discovered the sperm power YouTube, which was like holy shit.
Right.
It just blew my mind. the
What
other
is she
day.
saying?
I can't even reiterate. It was just like she was speaking about the power in a man's sperm and how it's like puts them in their predator mode, and how there's a low level and a high level of the sex power, and the low level is the DOG and the GOD, it's the dog god, and it's like
Yeah.
controls them. And
It was intense.
it was a lot, but it all like it just made sense. And afterwards, it's like you don't even realize what you heard.
Right.
You just kind of like let it settle in, and you're like, I totally understand.
That's
what
why
she
I
said.
had sometimes I have to put her on loop because I feel like I'm missing something. I'll we'll listen to her a few times. Like, okay, I get like it takes me a while to like kind of absorb it.
Because first
she's
you want to
so-
laugh, and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, that's amazing. And then you're like, oh shit, that was
shit, like,
funny,
that,
but
she's
that
like,
was
can we
really,
rewind that, please?
I really
Yeah, we
know
need to
what
get back to that.
she
Yeah.
meant by that.
Also,
Yeah.
I really do think, it's like I take her like a poet. Like maybe I don't
Yeah.
understand everything she's saying, but I definitely appreciate
It like
it.
Yeah.
like settles in.
Also, just seeing her courage and her power, just
Yeah.
like her willingness to assert that
Right.
It's
so
amazing.
brazenly, and she's a she's a survivor of you know, of
lot.
trauma, sexual
Abuse,
trauma.
rape, trauma.
You know, she's just
All that stuff.
fucking cool.
Yeah, she
You
is.
performed with Sissy Nobby at a festival in Krems.
Oh, don't mention Sissy.
Oh my god. Oh.
I love her.
I know. Sissy's amazing.
Her tracks are the top, and she got no credit.
I know.
You know, she was just eclipsed. Like, what's his name? Diplo did that track with that nice queen, but like kind of an imitation of Sissy Nobby.
Who was
And
it?
then
Da-da-da.
yeah, and
Da-da-da.
that queen is amazing too.
Yeah.
But and
Is
then,
that Big Frida?
No,
No,
it
it
wasn't
wasn't
Big
even
Frida. It's
Big
another
Frida.
one. But and then Big Frida had her thing, and she has a definite thing. But it's Sissy Nobby is like the Otis Redding of Bounce.
Oh my God, yes.
She's like
The Donny
soulful.
Hathaway.
When she sings, it's like it tears you up.
Oh my God.
It's emotional.
Yes.
I mean, I was blown away by her, and she's
You performed, and that was exactly what you just described. You performed a song called Lay Me Down,
Oh.
where you sang the words, lay me down before you tell me who's fucking who.
Yeah.
Dick ain't nothing but a muscle relaxer. Hit it from
Yes.
the front, from the back if you have to.
yeah. Well, Sissy's rap on that song is I basically just took her track and then I just put like a vocal lick on it.
Yeah, you were
I was
like
thinking
playing
like I'll be your
piano.
Dido or whatever. How do you say it? Her name Dido.
Yeah, Dido.
I'll be your Dido. But
Yeah,
Sissy
she was
sh-
rapping over you were just playing piano. And Naomi, Wonder Woman, was
Right.
voguing on stage.
Yeah.
There's a YouTube of it if you guys want to watch.
Sissy was like,
Dope.
you know, she's like a handful. Like she was like, she came to that show. That was in Austria.
She's
I
like the
think it
real
was-
deal.
And that was the first time that she'd ever left the country. And she
I
was like
remember meeting
calling her
her.
manager because she didn't know how to turn. She didn't understand why it was a different time of day.
Right.
And she
Oh
was
my
like, and she was like, she called her manager. She told me she needed to call her manager because she didn't know how to turn on the lights in the hotel.
Oh my God.
She was calling her manager and wherever I can't remember, but it was just like I was like,
Krems.
Sissy-
Where's Krems? I don't even.
and-
I was there. I don't
and
even
like
remember.
Krems is like where that crazy child molester guy is in that Thai prison with the giant wall, like
No.
Fritzl or something.
Oh,
It's
Jesus
basically
Christ.
Krems is like most famous for hosting Hitler before World War II and having like the biggest child molester in Nazi Europe.
Right, and this is where Coco Rosie decides
And
to do a
Coco Rosie
festival.
does a festival,
Of course.
and she brings
Sissy
Sissy,
Nobby.
and Sissy. I had
And me, and then Anohni.
yeah, and you were amazing. I remember your show. That
Oh my
night.
God, it was with bus. Was that with Bus Driver?
But Sissy was like, she was kind of a heartbreaker in a way. You know,
but that moment was so genuine. And also, there's another song.
But where is she now? Like, what is she doing?
I follow her on Twitter. She's doing her thing.
Is she still out there doing stuff?
She's doing stuff,
Is she doing music?
Yeah.
She wanted to do this kind of more boy act for a while. I remember that she grew... I don't know. I just watched those early videos of her. I mean, she kills me.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
She's still out there. She's still doing her thing.
I want to hear some more of her music.
You had another track that I...
Did I say something bad about Sissy?
No, we love Sissy.
Yeah, no, you were cute.
But I'm talking about... I'm getting into like your sexual lyric moments that you don't normally put on your like... The albums that you win awards for, but...
Okay.
Here's another one of my favorites. Oh, we're just going to play a little piece
No,
of
you're
this.
not going to play. I know you're going to...
Why am I still sucking your dick? Why am I still sucking your dick? Guess I'm trying to suck myself some love. Can I have some more volume? Guess I'm trying to suck myself some love.
I mean...
I was like 25.
Punk rock.
Oh
there.
my God.
Well, no, it was a slow song in a punk set. Like, it was 5 hardcore songs and that song, Why Am I Still
Oh my God, I
Sucking
love
Your
it because it's very punky.
And a lot of people probably won't find it because it's under another name. Should we say the name?
Dick? Sure, I mean, it doesn't matter.
What is it?
Jennifer, JHT.
JHT.
She's on the RAG, R-A-G, Rage Against God.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And
That is a punk band if I ever heard one. Jesus Christ. That's my God.
Well, we spoke in the past about having your energy stolen by men through sex.
right.
Some of these songs for me seem to hint at like a little bit of that concept. Do you have a sense of how our spirit is sometimes sacrificed or stolen by men through the use of sex?
I heard you talking about this on the last show, and you were beautiful on this topic. Like the way you said that you found yourself drained and they were getting so recharged.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that really struck me. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was a beautiful, perceptive thing of you to say.
Yeah, I think I've just become aware of that. So I'm getting more in tune with my spirit attached to sex. I'm aware that it's also there experiencing that with me, and it has its energy. And when I've heard like some of these songs in the past, it's kind of like been my first hints of that. I don't know, for some reason I feel like it's connected those performing that moment when you perform that song, and I was like, holy shit, this is speaking in a way about sex where I feel like you're singing from a space where you're aware of your spirit at that moment too. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally get it. But I feel like often I think that's a kind of a feminine paradigm in sex with guys, especially like one-off encounters and stuff where we're like there. I mean, granted, some women are just like horny and crazy and that's happening and it's just everyone's like, go for it. But then there's oftentimes you're just there with a different script than the guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
like, and
for me, I was also like, finding myself as a woman and my trans experience, it was sometimes I just like validated myself in a way. I needed that validation in a way.
or you would find out who you are in relationship to a man.
Dating with me, I feel till this day, I have a fear of it because I feel like I have this like PTSD, basically post-traumatic stress from being young, and I used to just meet guys for like hookups, and they would just come to my apartment, or like I would go straight to their apartment, and we would just have this sexual encounter, or like we would even have a romance, and it would be like in the confines of a beautiful candlelit like fantasy world, and that's how our relationship would be for years and years and years. So now I'm like trying to date now. I have this fear of like meeting someone in public, or like, feeling like ashamed, or like people are looking at us and like, oh my God, this guy is like putting himself out there. It's really intense for a man to like put himself out there with a woman who has a trans experience. It's like, it's easier for me to meet someone, and when I meet them face to face at a bar or something, we just meet by chance. It feels like, okay, we've already dealt with all that, and I'm like done. And I realized that it's not really happening. It's just in my head.
Right.
And it's just this trauma from when I was younger, and I just kind of forced myself into this shameful position.
Right.
And now I'm trying to just like kind of still now I'm a grown woman. It's like I'm still.
How do you
slightly
think you
down.
could get out of that so you could own your, like, be secure enough to just like, oh yeah, we're gonna meet at fucking McDonald's. I'm gonna like be calm and be cool and accept that someone likes me in public, and not be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
It's how long?
It's hard. Well, it goes
is
back
this
to, like,
always a
even-
process?
Well, I mean, did you see that thing that Lady Gaga just recently? She met with that group of gay kids, and she said to them that she had a mental health issue. She said she had a mental illness, and then when she was asked, "What is it?" she said, "I have PTSD," and she said, from sexual trauma, basically. And then Piers Morgan had this whole attack on her, saying you have to be, that's veterans have PTSD. Women from sex experiences, you don't have PTSD. Stop just trying to get attention. And then there were these other
articles. That's that privileged point of view where it's like you don't even know what that's like.
But then there was the articles from health professionals saying, actually, Piers, you're totally wrong. There are many women who have the symptoms of PTSD.
Right. Because it is like going to a fucking war.
From sexual assault and from terrible sexual experiences. Yeah. And I have to say, I really admired Gaga for putting that forward. I thought it was I was really moved by it.
It's true. It opened my eyes up to certain things. My last relationship was 1,000% abusive. I was literally locked up, abused, beaten, every kind of type of abuse you can endure. I went through it. And now, as I'm trying to navigate myself, where I feel like, okay, I'm over it, I recovered. Mm-hmm. But whenever I get involved with someone, I see that recurring in me. I'm like, oh my God, I don't trust this person. I create backstories about them in my brain where I'm like, that's not even happening. Why did you create that whole scenario?
Because you have
precedent.
Don't trust
yourself. And you don't trust
it's just
them.
And there's precedent in her story. That's trauma.
Yeah.
That's the nature of trauma.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
Why don't I feel safe? Because I haven't been safe before in this exact situation.
And I think a lot of trans women specifically go through that
hardcore
trauma, and they don't realize that they have to face that trauma before you can even go and present yourself to a man, because you've already set yourself up to you're just so, you can even find comfort in it. You find comfort in that trauma, and you just want to settle in it, and you want to just exist in it. You don't want to face it.
Do you think that sometimes I know I do, I distract myself hardcore so I don't face it? I will distract myself to no means so I don't face the trauma of a lot that I've been through.
with the new experience or a new person, or
no, just in general. I just distract myself, whether with work or dick.
Or just the internet, just keeping busy. That shit is keeps us just always humming, and so that we rarely have to sit and listen. I've started doing this.
That's so true.
I've started just in the morning. Sometimes I just wake up. I'm just not going to reach for anything. I'm just going to listen just for a second to my own body, to my own mind.
Yeah.
And just see what comes, because I never listen to her.
Yeah.
I'm always blocking her out.
I have to actively do that. I have to actively, I even feel when I put my phone across the room, I'm like, I feel the shift of energy, and I sense the silence. And my mother always, she tells me at least take 5 minutes to just be silent and everything's off. And just doing that for 5 minutes is
it's hard.
It's kind of intense, but it helps to just breathe and just hear yourself breathe too. It's just oh my God.
But then also you sometimes feel your pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you sit still.
That's what I had to distract myself. Yeah.
Just you feel even just physically pain that you weren't aware of.
Yes.
And then suddenly you finally listen for a second and you're like, oh my God,
it's true. I felt this recently. I've been going through kind of a breakup or a separation, and I'm like, oh, I'm so cool. This is so easy. Everything's so fine. I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Whatever I put together in my brain, it's the best medicine. Da 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 da. Suddenly, I settle into my silence, and I'm crushed, and I finally face all my emotions, and it hits me like a wave, and I'm like, oh shit, there's so much. I'm such a pro at covering it up and distracting myself.
Yeah, I'm amazing at
and
that
it's
shit.
It's not healthy.
But
No,
also,
it's
the
not.
society is geared to us to do that. It's
Yeah.
trying to make us do that.
They don't want you to face.
No,
No,
they don't
the
want us to
truth.
get real.
I feel like there is always like some sort of circus act always to distract us. Yeah, you're actually right.
It's all like a part of this weird consumer cycle
God.
of just like
So-
reach for the
Consume,
next
consume.
thing.
Yeah.
Reach for the next
Everyone's
thing.
just consuming.
And sedate,
Yeah.
placate, sedate.
Yeah, medicate.
Medicaid. And I had to fight against that one too. So.
Or a little dopamine, little hit. Like every tweet, everything. It's
Yeah.
always a little
Yeah.
dopamine hit,
Oh my god, it's so true.
like a little rat in a cage.
oh my god, yes, it's so true.
One more little thing.
God.
It's so true.
That shit can keep you going literally for months, and then one day you'll stop for a second and you'll be like, like you came up for air from the
Yeah.
underwater, and you're like, oh my god, I'm alive. And
Oh my
it's
god,
like
that
you've
was me
been
after my last relationship. I compared it to that scene in Gravity,
my God,
when Sandra
yeah.
Bullock, she like hits the earth finally, and she's like, and she takes that first breath of like oxygen.
Girl
You're like,
down.
I'm like, that's me right now.
Totally.
I just, like,
Oh my
finally
God.
escaped that fucking crazy relationship.
Isn't it amazing how much of our life we can still spend asleep? Like I feel like I spend huge chunks of my life walking but still asleep.
Oh my god.
And I have just moments of
I feel
lucidity.
safe when I'm there too. I feel like I don't have to deal with anything. I'm just like, I'm just gonna sleep more.
But I mean, like, even awake, like,
Yeah.
in my life, doing my stupid crap, like, I feel like
yeah,
I'm
sedated.
asleep 3/4 of the time.
Yeah.
Like, and then the few moments, I remember them like a chain of daisies, like the moments where I woke up for a second and I looked out on the world and I felt like I was alive. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then there's like these other long periods, even sometimes months or even years for me when I was touring 2008, 2009. I just don't even have one memory of those years.
Yeah.
It's not because I was wasted, just because I was just
No, touring can do
checked
that.
out.
Even
I was just
relationships.
checked out.
When you're in a relationship,
Things just fly the fuck
you can just
by.
like it distracts you from
Yeah.
reality.
And
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not grounded, you're not
Yeah.
plugged in, you're
No.
just
You just
on the
going
wheel.
by.
On the wheel.
Just yeah.
But it sounds like now you're stepping off the wheel.
I just feel like it's time for us,
Yeah.
like, especially with everything that's going on now in the world and
Yeah.
how treacherous, like, the landscape in the US is. It's
Yeah.
like, it's time for us to really, it's time for me to, like, appreciate what I have.
Yeah.
Good.
Right on.
That's a big deal.
It's weird. It's completely counterintuitive.
big deal.
Because everyone else is like, let's go to Washington. And I'm just like, let's just sit quietly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
observe our inner,
Yeah.
our inner, because we just need our wellness.
Yeah.
And the one thing I don't want these guys to do is to colonize my heart. They can take away
Exactly.
all my shit. They can try to take away anything they want, but they can't have my heart. And I find so often I give them that too. Do you know what I mean? They
Oh,
can,
exactly.
the media or whatever it is, like, or the threats or the threat of the future, I don't want to be held hostage by that anymore.
Yeah.
Not at
We
all.
have to attend the spirit. Like, I want to attend
That's beautiful.
the child or whatever.
That gonna make me
Oh my god, yes.
You're in the
it
deep end with a
will.
bunch of guys that don't give a shit about you and don't have your best interests at heart.
Never.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You
And
know,
eventually
and you
you gotta,
feel
you've got to just jump and figure out that you have a daughter on your hands and it's yourself and you have to
Yeah.
take care of her.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, exactly.
Because that guy's not going to do it.
No.
It's so true.
I mean, these guys are just babies. 99% babies, 1% golden men. And it's like, fuck. You talk about a needle in a haystack.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Serious.
Still searching.
Yeah.
Like that in a needle in a haystack. Do you know that song? Needle in a haystack. It's like that in a needle in a haystack.
Literally.
Do you know that song by the Bell Stars? They were this
The
group
Bell
of like, it was
Stars.
like 9 girls
Yes.
in England from like 1982. And they had this really, just one album. And it was so great. It was like, a needle in a
Needle in a
haystack was a
haystack.
fucking
Yeah,
killer.
Yeah.
Rules with us.
Champers.
So the topic of sex talk today is demisexual, which is to be demisexual. Which I just discovered this week because I met a boy who told me he was demisexual.
I didn't know what it was.
I was like, let me look that up.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So being demisexual is allegedly a bit on the scale of being asexual, where you have a difficulty feeling sexual attraction to someone who you do not have a strong emotional bond with. In general, demisexuals are not attracted to anyone of any gender, but once romantic feelings or feelings of deep friendship are sparked, they begin to experience sexual attraction and desire. While you can generally tell on the first date whether or not you'd want to be friends with someone, it's nearly impossible for a demisexual person to decide whether or not you'd be sexually attracted to them without the element of friendship and trust already in place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this, I could see how this would be difficult, especially in this age where so many people are dependent on apps and the internet to date.
Right.
You first look at photos,
Right.
which... for me, when I'm if I'm on a dating app or something, the first thing you see is a photo and you're like, would I have sex with this person? Or would I?
Well, yeah. And you look at their resume and see if they're
Then you
at
go
least
into
interesting.
the rest of it.
Right.
So I could see how for a demisexual, this may be a little
Rough.
rough around the edges.
Right. I mean, it's they obviously they don't fall in love at first glance. It's more like
Well, here are
personality.
some...
They need to be. They need to feel intimacy before they can get horny. Is
Right.
basically it.
Gotcha.
Which
kinda
which
like
for
me.
me, it seems like that's, I guess,
Yeah.
what we all kind of want. No?
I feel like I think I'm definitely like that. To be honest, I like 90% of the time, maybe 80. But sometimes you
Everything's
just
on a
gotta
spectrum,
hope-
girl.
Sometimes you have to just call a Juno and hope for the best. But no. I don't know. If I need to have some sort of connection with somebody before I go there.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know if it's just because I'm uber sensitive and sexually. I need to have some sort of like firework, mystical gold dildos, all of it. I need to have something because I'm not gonna get wet. I'm not gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna barely. I need something.
But do you feel like are you attracted well, when you see a guy, you can see, oh, he's fucking hot.
Well, if you know my pedigree of people that I've been with, it's obviously a personality thing, and not against any.
When you go to the next level,
yeah, it's always been.
but you can tell that you would be attracted to them.
I don't
Like, is that?
I don't really go
trying
out
to
with
figure out
very strong, like physically typical, attractive people. I've only gone out with people that I've only been attracted to mentally.
Right.
And that's how I've gotten to become sexually attracted to them. That's why I've gotten to that point. I'm head first, like, and then I will see your face, basically.
Right.
I mean, that's how I've always been.
Well, here are some signs to tell you if you are
Okay, here we go.
demisexual.
I might be Demi.
Most, if not all, your relationships started off as friendships.
Right.
You've had complete trust and security before engaging in any sexual activities. You need to be much more comfortable and attracted to someone long after you know all the little details about their lives and how they feel about things and what makes them tick.
Check.
Check. Well, I don't think I'm demisexual, but
sometimes you
definitely
are
have
with
sex.
people who you like, right?
I prefer to have a connection
Right,
and
yeah.
have intimacy.
Yeah.
And usually when I have sex with someone, I try to develop something ongoing and we consistent.
Yeah.
When I'm with someone, I like to be with that one person. I'm like,
Yeah.
But
What's that?
you're different because you're like my friend Chrissy, my daughter. You're like a sex shaman.
Word.
You're like when I say professional, I don't mean like professional as in a sex professional.
Yeah,
I just
I'm
mean
like,
you're like a very developed.
Yeah.
You have a very developed sexual vocabulary and like
Word.
you know how to move. You know how to move through the space. You have a lot of self possession. You have a lot of composure in the way it's like you really have to have a tight game to be.
I got a tight game.
Girl.
Do you know what I mean? Like you have to have a tight game to be able to be bulletproof and tender at the same time.
Yeah.
That's not fair for me to say.
No, I
this.
agree. I do, and thank you because that's the first time I'm gonna accept that. I am a sex shaman.
Yeah, I think so.
I do feel very comfortable in my sexuality, and I feel like I'm getting even more into that whole concept. And I feel really, and I worked hard because I started off really insecure, and I kind of threw myself to the lions because I use that as a way to sort of make myself, like I said, feel validated or like I felt powerful through seeing the way I was viewed through men's eyes, and it was kind of a poisonous thing for me at first. Lust and lust.
Right.
Right.
But I think I learned so much from it. Kind of like Alexyss, you know, she talks about her past. She went through a lot of like dark times with her sexuality and literally the act of sex. But I think I got so much out of it, and I came out the other end.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you can't be still vulnerable in those situations or need to take care of yourself. But I do think you're advanced.
All right. Well, I'll take that.
You agree?
1,005%.
So the final sign, if you're demisexual allegedly, is you have found yourself very confused in friendships.
Girl.
It gets to the not me. No comment.
That's 8th grade to now.
Well, no, I actually found myself like having close friendships with men, not looking at them sexually whatsoever.
Ever.
And then some point, like years later, it's like they show some interest or they make a move, and I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, that happened to me recently.
Then it opens up, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Like, oh.
Wow, okay, let's do that. And then
It's
we
a
go there, and
different
it's like a whole world opens up, and I'm like, oh right, this is awesome, or / nightmare.
As long as you're like aligned, like you're opening at the same time that they are to the new idea. As long as you're not like pining for like 10 years behind
No. It was just like we developed this friendship, and then like I didn't see them as sexual at all, even though they were like a beautiful person, but I just didn't see it. And then suddenly he presented himself in that way, and I was like, oh wow, you're fucking beautiful and hot. It just hit me out of nowhere, but I don't think I would have got there without the friendship. So I don't know if that makes me demisexual.
Maybe like partially demi.
You know, everything's on a spectrum.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's more of a personality thing. I don't know if it's like a sexual thing. I think it's more of an individual thing, because I don't know if I could pinpoint everything.
Oh my god, it actually says this. Wait.
Oh.
It gets to the point where you are genuinely surprised when you find that you are attracted to them. And even more surprised by how irreversible it seems. At least a few friendships have gotten awkward in situations when the feelings went unreciprocated.
Well, I'm glad we have Shannon.
Okay, we've succeeded at depressing enough.
Well, now I'm going to go lay in the corner and fetal and think about all the crushes that have not liked me back.
I don't know.
How do you feel about this whole concept of demisexuals?
I mean, I have a hard time with like all the new definitions for everything.
I know, it's just labeling.
But I mean, I appreciate the concept. I think it's, I mean, I don't know if it's a condition, but I think those feelings are really real.
Yeah.
Wanting
but I think
safe.
all this that I just said, I feel like it's just normal. Like it's just, duh, we want someone that we have a friendship with and connect sexually with. Duh, like that's what we all want, right?
You know, it's like...
I mean, it's easy to bang someone, but...
Oh yeah, for sure, all day.
I also just think estrogen, I mean, here I go again with my essentialism, but I think estrogen and testosterone bring different qualities out in people.
Oh, it's so true.
It's such a different kettle of fish. And men, and of course they can intersect, but
it's so true, because honestly, I feel I'm kind of an experiment in this, because I was full of testosterone to the point where I thought I was a sex addict. Right. Then I had my surgery, and then I had like, my doctor tells me like below normal levels of testosterone. And now I feel so different about sex, and I can see from another side. But I also see how a creature who has more testosterone, I understand that they're kind of a victim to it. It's like, it's...
I feel the same way. I get it. Like, like, and I think in some ways, as trans women, we can, to some extent, conspire or understand, like, the ravages of what men go through with their sexuality, because in some little tiny way, we have some insight into it as people who've had testosterone.
It's true. It's like this violent thirst where I was like, sometimes it was just like, I didn't care who it was. I was like, I just need to get rid of this feeling now, because it's like haunting me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, just like I need to release or I'm going to explode. Right. And now it's like, I see things more logically, where I'm like, oh, I'm in control of my sex.
That must be, did you feel relieved when that finally happened?
I did, because it was just like, okay, I don't have to like walk the streets at night. Like,
but you have to think about like but think about like what, like, you know, in history, like in prehistory, why we developed these two systems, these two hormonal systems. One was to, you know, you could see it in any nature program. Yeah. It's like female
but the thing
animals.
Is, those people don't understand the opposite side.
That's why I've always said, like, they should like taking a 2-month course in the hormone of the opposite sex should be a part of every high school education.
Oh my God, that sounds
So
genius.
that the boys all understand what it's like to have estrogen, and the girls all understand what it's like to have testosterone.
Yeah.
So like cross the line, kids. Like it's not like this. You know, people think it's this like this ultimate mystery, like the experience of, you know, the boys and the girls, they stare at each other with like as if they're like complete aliens, and it's like,
Yeah.
actually you just have two different like endocrinological systems, and if you just take a hint of it, you'll begin to understand what they're playing, what their hand of cards is.
It's so true.
You know, and it's not to say that it's across the board. It's like plenty of you know, women have testosterone too, and men have estrogen. It's completely, there's so much interplay, and it also is so much to do with your personality and your, not just the software of your hormones, but also the hardware of your brain, like as to how you're going to process that stuff and how it's going to manifest in your behavior. But there are certain things, and I do agree with you that the trans community, especially in the last 50 years, is like so pioneering in that we are basically like the moonwalkers of gender, and that people are really biologically beginning to grapple with like the experiences, the other experience or other experiences of biological gender.
Yeah.
You know, that's unprecedented. You know, like all those trans boys coming now, like the last 15, 20 years, like that whole new wall of trans men. I mean, it's a whole new world.
It's a whole new world. Yes.
Like that shit is so future.
Even now, I'm still exploring myself. Like so my doctor told me I had like a very basically negative levels of testosterone. So I started taking testosterone, and now I feel totally balanced in another way. It's like, you know, at first I was like, oh, testosterone would never. It's like the devil. Like that girl said, I avoided a bullet. And now I'm like, oh, I feel like I need some of that to actually relate to the world around me, because I'm so in this other world where I'm like, not even like the average cis woman has more of a balance than I do. And I'm like, okay, let me get back on that page. And
let's level this out.
It really does affect
Get a
your
little
brain.
heat in your system.
Yeah.
This can all be water.
No.
You have to have a little fire thing.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But thank you. Well, what's coming up for you though? Wait, okay, final words. Do you have anything coming up? Are you retiring, as rumors have it, Jay-Z over here?
I can't.
Are you going to retire from music? There are rumors going around.
Where
Little
did
birdies
you hear that
have been
rumors?
telling me
I don't know.
that you are retiring.
I'm going to be really upset.
I'm just, you know, I don't know. Everything's changing, so I'm just gonna.
All right.
I'm going to use that. I don't know. Everything's changing.
You know, everything's changing so fast, and I just want to. I really want to take some time to just attend to more interior stuff for a while, like just
Good for you.
You know, sit with, you know, I'm in the fortunate position of having the opportunity to do that, so
Amazing.
I want to do it because, you know, life isn't forever, it's just for a little while.
I know. And the world's ending, so.
And our world's ending even sooner than that. So, you know, it's like different seasons.
Yeah.
Things are changing, different seasons. Final words from Anohni.
Oh, thank
Thank you
so
for
much.
joining us.